So if each individual has to fund their own benefit, they have to count on living to 90, and each person would have to put $500,000 aside. Now that's not very efficient, is it? Because the average person needs $300,000 in this example, but each one of us is going to have to put $500,000 aside. Each one of us puts $500,000 aside. What happens? That drives interest rates down, which makes it more difficult to reach the goals. So here's the total here, but just focus on that each person would have to put $500,000 aside. This is a statement of the 5 years, 15 to 25 that we've already talked about. So this is in summary. If the entire group was pooled, you would only need $300 million to fund the benefits. But if each person had to do their own funding, you would have to have $500 million. Factoring in mortality and interest rates, you need about a 37% more money to self-insure than if you pool it. So for example, if you needed $1 million, you could buy an annuity for $1 million to provide your income, but you wanted to self-insure it, you would need $1,370,000, 37% more. Ethan's going to come back and talk about the public policy issues.
Thank you, Lane. So from a public policy perspective, I think we have to first address a few questions. Are certain types of retirement plans riskier than others? And what are the implications? What are the risk characteristics of the different types of plans? Where can and where should the pension risk be borne? The individual, the employer, the society? How do longevity risk, investment risk, and retirement risk interact? What's the best way to efficiently pool these risks? Public policy should work to promote lifetime income and not simply income to life expectancy. Just on a personal note, I deal with two very elderly parents, a 93 and an 86-year-old. May they live and be well. And I go over every weekend to take care of the mail, paying the bills. They have their challenges. Thank goodness they're financially okay. But the ability of the super elderly to manage the finances and manage the investments becomes more and more challenging as time goes along. So as we go to a society that talks in terms of the empowerment of the individual to make their own decisions, 65-year-olds may very well be capable of doing that. Can 95-year-olds do that? I think we have to ask the question. Public policy should have as targets reducing the incidence of poverty among the elderly. And we have different ways of doing it. There's Social Security, there's Medicare, there's employer and individual retirement savings vehicles, and in the employer category I put both defined benefit and defined contribution plans. We should be encouraging people to save for retirement and promote risk pooling so we get the most efficient use of those monies, and that we are thereby better able to protect the super elderly. We should be encouraging private pensions and retirement savings plans to supplement the federal programs, encouraging savings. There should be enough income from Social Security, the plans, and savings that when people are unable to work, they have enough to provide for themselves. We should be promoting adequate retirement security, continuing lifestyles in retirement, encouraging and incenting employees to save, and promoting lifetime income, and promoting the pooling of risk. We should be encouraging, incenting through tax or design employers and employees to pool the risks because of the efficiencies and the cost savings from pooling. So what can policymakers do? Encouraging savings. I'll be honest with you, discouraging lump sums, encouraging annuitization, whether it's the annuity from the DB plan or annuities from DC plans. Discouraging leakage, mandating rollovers. Too much money leaks out of the system while people continue to work and is not there for them in retirement. We should be encouraging pooling and lifetime income arrangements, whether it's the DB plan, annuitization, rollovers, and within the rollovers, some types of annuity products, and we'll cover some of that in the following slide. Recognizing that, as we said, some of the super elderly just can't manage things. A couple of observations. One is flat tax proposals tax consumption and not income. They encourage greater savings. We're not taking a position on the flat tax. It's just merely an observation. Many Americans will work past age 65, even beyond age 70. Encouraging working past 65 should not be discouraged by some of the rules, such as the age 70 and a half rule in the tax code. And we'll cover that on the next slide here. We should be addressing some of the issues of the marker ages in the code. For example, the age for required distributions, age 70 and a half, was put into the Internal Revenue Code for the first time as 70 and a half in 1962 as part of H.R. 10 for KEO plans. It has not been changed or indexed since. Yet the life expectancy of the average American has increased by 8 years since 1962. Age 59 and a half was put in the Internal Revenue Code for the earliest age of distribution in ERISA. I'm not sure if it predates ERISA. I couldn't find it. Somebody who knows the code better might be able to find an earlier site. But 59 and a half has not changed since at least 1974. It too needs to be indexed, as well as the age 65 retirement age. Current payout requirements over life expectancy require too rapid a drawdown because, as we noted before, half the people will live beyond their life expectancy. So what other things can we do? We can fix 401A9, allowing for annuity benefits starting at a later age, such as longevity insurance. Longevity insurance is a product that essentially you take a portion of your lump sum. Let's say, hypothetically, at age 65, you get your lump sum from the 401k plan, you roll it to the IRA. You take 15% of it out and you give it to a humongous insurance company. There are a number of companies selling the product. What it does is that money is put into an annuity that does not pay anything till age 85. If you die before age 85, you get nothing. But remember, you bought fire insurance on your house. If the house didn't burn down, you got nothing either. This is insuring you not against premature death like life insurance. This is insuring you against longevity, that you're going to outlive the average table. And it starts paying a benefit at age 85. Because it has 20 years for the interest to build up, and because it only pays those who make it to 85, it's a cheap product. However, it is illegal to have that product today, as the regulations are written, in a qualified plan or a regular IRA or even a Roth 401k. The only place you can put it in the qualified system today is in a Roth IRA. Otherwise, it would violate required minimum distributions. Yet this is a very socially positive vehicle that helps protect people from having nothing at their old age. It allows someone to take the bulk of the lump sum and spend it down over their life expectancy and be sure that there'll be money left if they outlive the life expectancy. Another issue we have to deal with is the psychology of people making elections from DB plans. Many people elect the lump sum because they underestimate their longevity. They're afraid what happens if they get hit by a bus tomorrow, or they and their spouse get hit by a bus tomorrow, and therefore the plan or somebody else will keep all their money. Plans have to offer joint and survivor options. That's part of the code, ERISA, and the Retirement Equity Act back in the 80s. The difference for an age 65 employee with an age 65 spouse, between 100% joint and survivor annuity and 100% joint and survivor annuity with 20 years certain, it's only 3 percentage points on the factor. And yet, if you offered the employee 100% JNS, joint and survivor, which would pay for the lifetime of the employee and the spouse, providing full protection, but guarantee that if they both die before 20 years have gone by, that the payments will continue for the 20-year period to their named beneficiary, children, whomever, it would change the psychology of the election. It is not a difficult thing to do. It is not costly, minimal cost on administration, and yet changes the entire psychology of the discussion with the employee. It removes the behavioral barrier to annuitization. And then something which probably would get some people ire up. My personal view is lump sum is the devil's work. Annuities should be what we require. We're spending large amounts on the tax qualified system, not expending it. It's a tax deferral, but there are tax benefits. Society is entitled to something in return. What it expects in return is that the super elderly will not be destitute. And the best way to help make that happen is to require annuities. I'd like to just show one other slide just to show you the first slide of the appendix. Where are the monies today? The old line, show me the money. What was that, the football player? DB plans used to be king. Today, they have about 2.4 trillion in the assets out of about, this is something like 9.9, about 10.8. So about 20 to 25% of the assets are in DB plans. DC plans are between 35 to 40% of the assets. IRAs, 4.5 trillion. Now, that is not the $2,000 or the $5,000 IRA. That represents only about a third, a little over a third of the 4.5 trillion, about $1.5 trillion. Almost 2/3 of that money are rollovers that came out of the qualified system. So you have as much money in rollover IRAs as you have in all of DB plans today. Now, some of it came out of DC plans, but the rollover IRA is the growing number, and I've seen some projections that show the rollover IRA will take over as the largest single pool on this chart within about 5 or 6 years, as the baby boomers all start retiring and taking lump sums and rolling them. With that, I think we're hitting the witching hour. I want to thank you all, and have a good morning.
Thank you.